Right, recording. So hi you guys and welcome to my channel. I'm back with a new video and I'm not sure what we're gonna watch here. This video is called Bas Rutten, the brutal king of Pancrase. What does that mean? I'm very curious what this video is gonna be about, so I'm not gonna ramble. Let's get straight into this video. So if I need to guess here, Bas Rutten is a guy. Sounds kind of Dutch, no? And the brutal king of Pancrase. Pancrase gotta be a move of some sort. Am I right? Oh.
Speed, strength, and brutality. A man who was entered into the UFC Hall of Fame after only 2 fights and became one of their first heavyweight champions.
How is that possible?
He won the King of Pancrase title 3 times and built a legendary sports career. For fans of mixed martial arts, Bas Rutten needs no introduction. In this video, we will show you the best finishes performed by the legendary fighter. And if you like this video, please don't forget to punch the like button, as it really helps us to develop this channel.
He's different.
In 1996, a fight against Katsuomi in a
Swedish flag, I'm from Sweden.
Gaki, a strong average fighter who was remarkable in the fact that for many fights, no one was able to knock him out. Bas wanted to change that. From the bell, Rutten's high kick hit the Japanese fighter even through a block. He follows with a blow to the body. Inagaki makes a lucky takedown, but Bas immediately catches him in a stranglehold. Inagaki grabs the ropes and gets deducted a point according to the Pancrase rules. Bas catches Katsuomi with a punch, but the Japanese fighter transfers to the ground. A few minutes later, Rutten delivers a kick to the liver, followed by a liver punch. The fighters transfer to the ground where more heavy blows to the liver follow. The fighters rise to their feet, and a few minutes later, Rutten delivers another devastating kick to the liver, dropping
it's like the things, the
Inagaki to the canvas.
We cannot call
Amazingly, Katsuomi stands up over
Speedos and the long shoes thing. Like, so this is Pancrase, like the
overcoming the pain and one of the hardest blows to the liver that we've ever seen. Just listen to the sound.
See, and now I go boom.
Bas raises his right hand to distract the Japanese fighter and delivers another kick to the liver. It's clear that Katsuomi is in great pain, but if you thought he wouldn't get up, then you were wrong. There are no weak fighters in Pancrase. Rutten decides to throw a high kick to the head, followed by another liver kick, but Inagaki is saved with a clinch. Seconds later, Rutten hits with a knee to the body when the fighters are standing up, one of the signature moves of the Dutch puncher. This is the end of their fight.
I said Dutch, right? See?
Rutten wins by TKO.
I was just guessing. I was right. I said that in the beginning, right?
Beat the best fighters at their peak. But let's take a look back at Bas Rutten's debut. The first Pancrase show in history had real fights, even before the UFC. Rutten's debut match was a showdown with the hefty pro wrestler Ryushi Yanagasawa, who was inexperienced in MMA, but considered himself a puncher. Well, let's see. The Japanese fighter throws a low kick, but Bas counters with a high kick and a powerful palm strike that knocks Yanagasawa down. The Japanese begins to suspect that this is not the same as in pro wrestling. Yanagasawa stands up, but Rutten's frenzied series of punches crushes his opponent. It's a knockout.
No, that's scary.
Bas Rutten's debut was the most impressive fight of the first Pancrase show and made the audiences realize that these fights were real and not Japanese pro wrestling. Yanagasawa faced a tough Dutch kickboxer and simply wasn't ready for that kind of power. However, he didn't give up, and in the future would fight Mirko Cro Cop in K1. Still, Bas Rutten was the star that night.
How popular is Pancrase? Kind of makes me think of pancakes.
Pancrase was created when 2 young pro wrestlers, Masakatsu Funaki
I swear, like I just asked and now they explain it, like what is this?
and Minoru Suzuki became unhappy with the current trend of wrestling in Japan. which featured showmanship and style over technical ability. They decided to form their own promotion. The rules and surroundings were much the same as Bushido wrestling, but the matches were played for real, which caused a great sensation. Funaki and Suzuki traveled the world in search of talent, and one day met Bas Rutten in a Dutch gym and convinced him to join their new organization. Rutten's second fight was the robust Takaku Fuke. Bas opens with a heavy front kick. The Japanese responds with a pass, but Bas moves to the floor and uses a guillotine. Experienced Takaku quickly went to the mount and performed an armbar, but Bas literally dragged the Japanese across the ring and grabbed the rope. Bas has a point deducted.
Can I do that?
Fuke knows what he has to do. He can only win the fight by wrestling, but Bas was on alert, and at the right moment, he delivers a knee to the liver. It was a kickboxing-style knockout. Fuke was unable to recover. Bas Rutten noted that he deliberately struck his opponent while he was exhaling, so that the blow was even more destructive. In 1994, the Dutchman faced a fight with Vernon White. Vernon White was a Taekwondo coach and champion, but compared to Bas in MMA, he was an amateur.
Yeah.
Vernon tries to attack Rutten with a heavy front kick. However, Bas is able to perform a takedown into a guillotine hold, which quickly finishes his opponent. This is despite the fact that Vernon trained grappling for a year, and he and Bas were on roughly equal terms. Rutten admitted that in the first couple years, the guillotine was the only thing he could do on the ground.
Holy! For the picture. Athleticism.
In the same year, Rutten fought one of the founders of Pancrase, Minoru Suzuki, who was, at the time, undefeated. Bas was nervous before this fight due to the fact that Suzuki was a very experienced fighter.
That's scary.
Minoru enters the ring in his trademark bad boy style. The fans adored him, and at the time, the stocky Japanese had already managed to beat Vernon White, Maurice Smith, and even Ken Shamrock. In a world of very tough and violent fighters, even today, Suzuki is considered the
that's very Japanese that they had this acting on, but it's real though. Like they're
king
it up.
of catch wrestling. If we
very,
had to bet on this fight, then we would not bet on Rutten that evening. Suzuki circles around the ring, and Bas takes aim, realizing that his opponent should not be allowed to close the distance. A high kick and a palm strike dropped the Japanese wrestler. Knocked down. Minoru realized that it was time to stop playing puncher. He catches Bas by the leg, hoping to move to the ground, but forgot that a puncher like Bas would not miss his chance and continue the attack. Rutten moves to finish the fight, but Suzuki was on the alert. A nice takedown. The Japanese had an impressive amateur career in wrestling, and Bas himself admitted that Minoru was a master. The Japanese fighter easily goes to the side mount. Rutten punches him in the back of the head, but Suzuki was unfazed and performed a headbutt. Bas is on the alert, and he understands that the slightest mistake in the ground with Minoru would cost him the fight. However, Suzuki relaxed and let Bas get to his feet, and that was a mistake. Rutten's body knee strike ended the Japanese fighter's winning streak and left the local fans in shock. Rutten, who was weak on the ground, won on his feet. Ken Shamrock said the reason for Suzuki's defeat was only two factors: his smaller size and gaps in his striking technique, which Minoru never made up for until the end of his career. Manabu Yamada was an extremely dangerous fighter in MMA back in the late 80s in the Shuto promotion before the birth of UFC. In the fight with Yamada, the difference in height and power worked in favor of Bas Rutten. There is a hard palm strike from Yamada, but Rutten also manages to get in some hits. The fight moves to the ground, where the Dutchman gets a back mount. The experienced Japanese fighter manages to get out, but he immediately falls into another trap, where Rutten clamped an arm triangle choke from half guard. Rutten clung to his opponent like a python until Yamada passed out. This is the old school submission. Bas was not happy about the victory, but in the end, Yamada was okay.
He seemed like he had a good attitude.
Of particular note is Rutten's trilogy
Bas
with
Rutten.
Jason DeLucia,
Nice person.
the
Like,
MMA
he's
Kung
reacting.
Fu fighter. Young Jason was already training at the Lion's Den facility. In his debut, he caught the more experienced Masakatsu Funaki on a mistake, so he was confident that he could beat Bas. We all know that DeLucia's signature move is the sidekick with the leading foot, but this simply does not work on Rutten. There is a good transfer to the ground from Jason, but Rutten did not want to risk fighting in a grapple and grab the ropes. What follows is a repeated sluggish sidekick from Jason and a killer high kick from Bas. Jason tries to move the fight to the ground again, but moves too slowly. The referee separates the fighters but does not notice that Jason is grabbing the ropes. Rutten points this out to the referee, and then the fight continues.
He didn't get no points deducted, no?
The next
lost
transfer to
points.
the ground was even more clumsy than the last
Wait, it
one.
was only lost points for Rutten, not the other guy. No?
Bas saw him
He
and
missed
led with the guillotine choke, ending the fight.
You have to
It
knock
was
him out.
evident
There you
that
go.
DeLucia
Have to do
realized
it.
that he was not able to withstand Bas's punches and kickboxing skills, and was looking to save himself by transferring to the ground. Unfortunately, it didn't go his way.
Nope.
After the loss, Jason never gave up seeking a revenge match, believing Bas was just lucky the first time. In the second fight, there's a failed attempt to move to the ground by Jason DeLucia, followed by a slightly clumsy attack to which Bas responds with a heavy middle kick. But Jason catches him and succeeds in moving him to the ground. DeLucia grabs Bas's leg. Rutten responds in kind. Now, in a wrestling fight, Bas wins again with a painful leg submission. DeLucia is understandably disappointed. After all, this time he lost in just 1.5 minutes, faster than the first fight. But the Lion's Den fighter, for some reason, decided that his lucky number was 3. A year later, he decided to challenge Rutten again. Bas was already a champion by then and had a plan for how he wanted to deal with Jason. Unfortunately, the fight didn't go exactly to plan, and you will see why. In the third match, DeLucia realized that he was not previously successful on the ground and decided to fight Bas standing. But nothing good awaited him here. In a controversial moment, Rutten struck Jason's upper chest with his fist, using skills he learned over the years of studying Kyokushin karate. But Jason protests, claiming that the blow struck his throat. On the replay, it's hard to see who is right and who is not. But Rutten received a warning. According to Pancrase rules, you can hit the body with the fist, only strike the head with an open palm.
Oh, yeah,
Jason
see
didn't
that.
know if he could win this time around and was happy to cause any trouble that he could for the champion. But Bas knows that DeLucia cannot be underestimated. Many have already paid for it. However, the difference in the power of the blows between the two fighters was extreme. DeLucia was afraid to even block Rutten's strikes. Jason did manage to break through Rutten's defenses several times. After doing so, Bas realized that it was time to fight seriously. The Dutchman delivers several blows to his opponent's body and follows with palm strikes. One of the punches was deflected by DeLucia's defense and landed inappropriately, leading to the referee warning Bas again. Jason is in no hurry to set the record straight. Bas turns up the aggression and unleashes heavy blows, and inadvertently strikes Jason's throat again. He admits his mistake, saying, "I'm sorry, I missed." Although Rutten will later say that he actually hit the chest,
Red
and
card.
DeLucia claimed that it was his throat. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Bas backed off a little, and DeLucia taunted that it didn't fit his warrior
How many cards
image,
do they have?
which he had displayed in his
No, they
other
use yellow
fights.
and red in football.
Now,
but-
fired up, Rutten becomes seriously aggressive. Another crazy attack from Rutten, with body punches and a middle kick, knocks DeLucia down. Jason claims that he was hit in the groin and not in the body in an attempt to interfere with Bas's success. Moving on, the enraged Bas
Still
punches
going.
two
Oh.
sliding blows with his hands into Jason's body, making him collapse with pain. Somehow he manages to rise again, but in vain.
Oh.
Here we see one of the most terrifying body knockouts in MMA history. Jason suffered a liver rupture from these punches. This is why Pancrase fights were much more difficult than the standard MMA rules. In the UFC, DeLucia would have lost to Rutten after the first knockdown. But in Pancrase, he was counted out knockdown after knockdown. Jason put psychological pressure on Bas both during and after the fight. In the book, Total MMA, he stated that Rutten only fought comfortable opponents, and that the Pancrase leadership allegedly wanted to make Rutten a star. In other words, DeLucia hinted that he was being forced to fight Rutten. However, it could be said that Bas Rutten needed no outside help, which was even confirmed by Guy Mezger, Jason's teammate. Jason was a great fighter, but he could not accept the fact that he constantly lost to Bas.
I mean, he got 3 chances. But then, yeah.
In Bas's fight with Maurice Smith, everything changed dramatically.
What happened?
Bas would have had good reason to be nervous, since Maurice was on a completely different level as a world kickboxing champion and K1 veteran. Rutten has never achieved world champion status in kickboxing, but in Pancrase, Bas had more experience and a solid counterattack plan. Maurice easily blocks Rutten's high kick. Bas works more aggressively, but is a little unsure. Smith lost his balance and fell, with Bas following him down for a grapple and a leg hold.
We know the
Maurice
grapple.
grabs the ropes. The fighters are reset and Maurice goes on the attack. Bas uses a clinch, then drags Maurice to the ground. There he delivers a painful blow to the leg and a knee bar, which forces Smith to submit. It was clear that Maurice Smith was an inexperienced fighter when it came to wrestling. Another great win for Bas.
Hey!
6 months later, they met again. Rutten decided he was ready to fight the elite kickboxer while standing. Bas responds to Maurice's low kick with a front kick and knocks Smith back. Now, Maurice escapes by taking Bas to the ground with a spectacular takedown. The fighters wrestle for a moment before moving back to their feet. This left hook to the liver was definitely felt by Smith. Bas attempts an upside-down knee bar, but Smith escapes with the ropes.
Different.
Maurice tries to keep his distance, but Bas pushes him and holds him against the ropes. Now, Rutten drags his opponent to the ground. There are several submission attempts, showing that his skill on the ground is still greater than that of the world kickboxing champion. Maurice makes a mistake, allowing Bas to take his back. The Dutchman applies a rear naked choke, and that ends the fight. Bas next had a showdown with the fierce Guy Mezger, a basic karate, world kickboxing champion, world champion of the UFC 4, and an honored fighter with the Lion's Den. Bas starts with his signature hurricane front kick, but Guy clinches and takes the fight to the ground. Mezger's fighting style was on a different level than Rutten's previous opponents. Mezger throws a dangerous high kick that has knocked down many of his rivals. Bas responds with a series of palm punches. The Lion's Den fighter seems stunned, and he responds with a Yura Mawashi. Throughout the fight, Bas consistently looks better on his feet, but every time the fight went to the ground, Mezger was clearly confident in his technique. Still, Bas has a good defense against Mezger's grappling and managed to survive on the floor. By this point, the fight has lasted 19 minutes. Guy somersaults, hoping to apply a knee bar, but Bas turns the tables, getting Mezger into a painful leg submission. It hurts to even look at.
You gotta tap
injured
out.
Guy, which he did not want to do since they are friends. But alas, this is a tough sport. Bas just grabbed the opponent's foot and with his hands twisted it in a strange angle, causing Mezger to tap out. The next fight we look at is from 1998, Bas Rutten versus Kengo Watanabe. Bas was prepared to leave Pancrase and head to the USA for his UFC debut. Guy Mezger suggested that he stay for one more fight with a promising newcomer, an offer that Rutten could not refuse. It was Kengo's debut in Pancrase, and a risky maneuver for him to take on a seasoned champion like Rutten. Bas also took a risk in this fight, hoping not to be
No,
injured before his
favorite.
planned move to the UFC. Hickson Gracie was also in the arena that evening, sitting ringside to watch the match. Bas opens with a sharp middle kick to the body. Kango tries to escape in a clinch but ends up receiving even more heavy body punches. Bas was more aggressive throughout this fight. A knee strike and a hard right hook knocked the Japanese fighter down. He gets up and goes on the attack, but the Pancrase star knocks him down again with his signature blow. It's hard to believe, but Kango rises again and continues the fight. Kango's fate, however, seems sealed. Another series of punches finishes him off in what could be called one of Bas Rutten's most aggressive fights.
Oh my God.
He was in great shape in
finito.
this
Come
fight,
on now.
and Kango Watanabe was no match for the seasoned veteran.
It's over. Yeah. Ended. Hey! Hey!
We now go back in time to when Bas faced one of the stars of the UFC, Frank Shamrock. This fight was the final match of their trilogy. Frank was the interim Pancrase champion at the time, and Shamrock and Rutten had already met twice. In the first fight, the decision went to Shamrock, and in the second fight, it went to Rutten. The third fight was supposed to determine the ultimate victor in their confrontation. The bell rang. A great high kick from Bas, but Frank clinches it. There is a powerful throw into the north-south position, but Bas breaks out and the fighters return to their feet. We see a heavy low kick, and Shamrock provokes his opponent. Frank tries another clinch, and they move to the floor. But in the end, Bas is too strong physically. There is a knee to the head from Rutten, something that you don't often see in the UFC. Bas continues to kick, and Frank responds with yet another takedown, in what is turning out to be a great fight between these two strikers. Bas knocks down Shamrock with a wrist strike. Shamrock, who is dazed, tries to knock out Bas's pivot leg. Rutten throws punches to the head. Shamrock pushes, and both fighters fell through the ropes out of the ring.
Whoa!
The Dutchman is the first to return to the ring, and Frank crawls in with difficulty. He received a lot of punches, and it's not easy for him to go on. The fight continues in one of Pancrase's most spectacular matches. Bas's blows were top-notch, and by this time, Shamrock had exhausted himself with his spectacular throws. Bas sets up a knee to the head that barely misses Frank's face. Frank, now tired, moves the fight to the ground, but Bas sees it and punishes the guy with his punches. In a more funnier moment, Shamrock begins to tease Rutten and make faces. Bas continues to slap his opponent, intentionally aiming for the cut above his eye. At one point, Bas strikes his opponent with his fist and is warned by the referee. In an attempt to move to the ground by Shamrock, Bas defends himself and even delivers a knee to the head. He catches Frank in a guillotine that cuts off his oxygen. Frank falls and has difficulty getting up while the referee is counting. The toll of the knockdown, missed hits, and his fatigue finally finishes Shamrock off. Despite the fact that he was ready to continue, the referee stops the fight due to the cut he had received. Bas Rutten wins the trilogy. This is one of the most famous Pancrase fights, one of the most spectacular, and one of our favorites.
I see.
The defeat only hardened Frank Shamrock, and in the end, he would only become stronger, later adding the UFC title to his portfolio.
So he went over there and had some success in the UFC?
Next up, a showdown with Osami Shibuya, an extremely athletic fighter who had previously fought with Bas. However, the first fight ended in a draw when Rutten suffered a serious chest injury. This time, Bas planned to finish the fight quickly. Osami attempts to move the fight to the ground, but Bas quickly catches him in a guillotine, then lets go and strikes the body with a knee. Osami Shibuya was overconfident and fell into Rutten's trap. Bas performs a body crunch submission, which suffocates his opponent, bringing the fight to an end. One of the most outstanding pain techniques in history. In 1996, Bas Rutten finally got the matchup he had been seeking for years. A rematch with Masakatsu Funaki, the king of Japanese catch wrestling, a Pancrase founder and a man who defeated him in 1994. Unlike Minoru Suzuki, Funaki weighed over 90 kilos, was extremely athletic. He possessed a strong kick and an excellent technique on the ground. Funaki was one of only 2 people to defeat Ken Shamrock in Pancrase. He performed technical submissions that no one had seen before, and now he planned to finish Rutten. Bas recalls that Masakatsu walked up to him before the fight and made a throat-cutting gesture, hinting that he would finish him off. At that moment, Rutten realized that he would need to beat Funaki like never before, but the Japanese fighter's wrestling skill was still light years ahead of Bas's skills, so this would be one of the toughest fights of his life. The fight opens with a powerful low kick from Bas.
I wonder how this one's gonna end.
Funaki defends himself and bides his time. Then there is a hard kick from Funaki, and the fight goes to the ground. The Japanese fighter goes for Bas's leg and tries to give a painful blow to the Achilles, but then switches to a brutal foot twist. Despite Bas's leg being twisted, he holds out and later admitted that it was miraculous he did not tap out. The referee resets the fight. Bas is hunting for a head strike, but Funaki moves the fight to the ground again. Masakatsu worked well on the ground, but let his guard down for a moment and allowed Bas to get up. Bas throws a great combination and an accurate kick. Funaki is not doing well on his feet. He receives a knee to the body but doesn't give up. In this exchange, the strongest blow was thrown by Funaki, who got a second wind. Masakatsu tried to hit Rutten's leg to no avail. The champion continues to throw punches while standing. His plan was to drag out the fight, since Funaki never fought longer than 15 minutes.
He wants to tire him
Rutten
out.
throws off Funaki. Masakatsu flies at him with blows, but runs into a counterattack. Bas is being ruthless and throws a strong palm blow, knocking Funaki down. The Japanese fighter gets up. Funaki attempts another transfer to the ground, but an accurate finishing blow from Bas forces the referee to count another knockdown. Masakatsu prepares for the final clash in this fight. The Dutch puncher strikes Funaki in the corner, but the fight continues. There's a high kick from Masakatsu, who is clearly fatigued. After an effective series of punches, Funaki is back on the floor. Even though it looks like the end, the Japanese fighter gets back to his feet, wanting to fight to his last breath. A powerful knee strike to the head. Rutten is putting everything he has into these punches, but Masakatsu is still on his feet. He grabs the ropes and the referee separates the fighters. Bas looks fatigued as the fight is already past 17 minutes. Despite the fact that the Japanese veteran appears to be losing, he only cares about his fans and refuses to give up. Funaki flies at Rutten. They are in a clinch now, with heavy palm and knee blows delivered by the Dutchman. A final knee strike, and Funaki could no longer stand.
Oh my God.
Bas Rutten is completely exhausted as well. Funaki gets up but falls for the final time, and Rutten is declared the winner. Bas admitted that he was also on the verge of total exhaustion. This fight with Masakatsu is still considered by many to be the best fight in Pancrase history. For us, this organization is one of the greatest in MMA history and is on par with Pride and K1. What do you think about Bas Rutten's career and the...
Wow, and career, but what a journey. You know, they found him at the gym, and just what a life, what a journey. Bas Rutten. I learned today what Pancrase is and was, and how popular is today, because this was in the late 90s. Shish, that was crazy. Interesting to see something new. Let me know if you guys are familiar with him and the sports. Comment down below, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and hopefully I'll see you in another video. Appreciate you watching. Bye.